Hey, security peeps. We are live with another edition of Breaking Into Cybersecurity, and it is CISO Thursdays. I am Renee Small, cybersecurity super recruiter, helping awesome leaders hire great talent. I'm here with a gang of people. It's going to be a party today. So first and foremost, before I get into it, everyone make sure to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got Twitter now, all of that good stuff. Chris will chime in and tell us what else we every week. I'm like, oh, we have this now. We have it. Chris is like the mastermind behind the scenes, making us expanding the network. So please subscribe. And I want to go around first. Chris, do you want to go first?
Sure. I am here on site with Attack IQ. We were doing a breach and attack simulation. So I roped in Beverly here to join us live today. And I also want to welcome Anna to the show. Anna is from Nova4, and she specializes in mobile first awareness for cyber education. Anna, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, go for it, Anna.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Thanks, Renee and Chris and Beverly. Nice to meet you. That's true. So I work for Nova4 Africa. So I'm based in South Africa. And I used to be responsible for the African business. And obviously we have quite a mobile embracing culture here. So we do have some challenges to get content to people that are only available on their phones. They don't even have laptops or computers. And my current role is SVP of Content Strategy, and I'm an evangelist. So I'm, spreading the word across the continent on not just to our customers, but also the public and sort of public services as well as consumers on how to stay safe and protect themselves online.
That is awesome. And you know what's fascinating, Anna, is the population where they don't have laptops. So I'm really curious about just how that works with just a mobile a heavily mobile population.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people aren't aware that our average age on the continent is 19 years old. So Africa is the youngest population on Earth.
I did.
Yeah, and a lot of those youngsters, they that's the first time they connect to the internet is through their mobile phones. Obviously, because of the demographic, you'll still get a lot of feature phones. So there's technology in place still that a lot of the banks use, for example, for mobile banking that's based on USSD, which is quite like a lot of folks in Europe and America don't even know what that is anymore. It's like old technology that is being used to communicate on feature phones. Maybe you remember when you had like an SMS and then you reply back with a one is yes and two is no. That's how USSD works. But more and more people are getting access to smartphones, and that is really the first time that they connect properly to the internet. So as whereas you'd think people in Europe or in the more developed world grow up with computers or smart TVs and all of that, we have a large population that are first-time users. Sometimes they're not, or very often they're not even English speakers. And if you consider that a lot of the security awareness or the sort of, general security talk is in English, we have from an attack surface a large population that is not aware of the threats and the dangers. B is using the mobile phone for mobile banking, like mobile financial transactions. That's another stat that's quite interesting about sub-Saharan Africa, is that even on an actual numbers point of view, so not just percentage-wise, we have the most mobile financial transactions in the world, more than in Asia, which, if you're a cyber criminal, that makes it a really attractive target, because you have all these people using their mobile tech and they're not necessarily aware of the threats that come with social engineering and various other cyber-based threats.
Wow.
That's interesting that we often in the States think of Nigeria, the Nigerian prince or things like that as attacking us, but they do the most mobile transactions in the world. That's a very interesting fact.
Yes, and by the way, Nigeria is one of the countries that is worst affected by cyber crimes themselves. And it's true, a lot of the criminals do come, particularly the sort of the Nigerian prince scams. They do come from Nigeria. Ghana is more known for romance scamming, like they have actual villages that where people are employed to do romance-based scams. Kenya is really incredible in terms of the mobile innovation and technology that's been happening there. But that also means that they are targets as well in terms of cybercrime, and particularly if you consider what's been happening with the states and Biden. I think a few months ago he came out saying that you consider ransomware and extortion criminals a national threat. So that means you come hard after those guys. And we don't have that kind of power. Our governments aren't resourced like that. We don't have the budgets. We don't have the people. Yet we do have quite a large cyber dependent industry as well. Obviously, nothing compared to your economy, but we do have massive banks and telecommunications, manufacturing, and what we are worried about particularly is that the cyber criminals are shifting their attention more towards sort of the emerging economies, because they know, if they come after our industry, we don't have the FBI or the NSA coming after them. We also don't have the legislation in a lot of those countries. We have like 54 countries on the continent, and only 14 currently have a cybercrime and data protection strategy in place. So it's a bit of a safe harbor for the bad guys, unfortunately.
That
Oh,
is.
I lost you.
No, I think Chris
No.
is.
Just saying to Beverly, because we are in a noisy environment that
Okay.
let me know when to unmute. But do they share like intelligence between the countries? Do they share those indicators of threats so that each of the governments can work on it?
Chris, I wish that was the case. There are different, particularly amongst industries. Like, for example, obviously the finance industry, they've got the FSISEC, or that's global, and then the mobile operators got the GSMA forum, where they exchange a lot of the threats and the ICOs that they come across. So on an industry level, people do share a lot, and sort of unofficially. The network, the security guys, I think we only have 10,000 security professionals across the whole continent. So it's a very small industry, and people know each other and people help each other as well. So that is, if something happens in an incident, usually you do get help from the community. But on an official scale, there is not enough that's happening in terms of collaboration, and there should be more. I mean, we've got the African Union has a cybersecurity expert group, and they are trying very hard to evangelize their data protection framework, as well as more capacity building and information sharing, not just amongst public service or the governments, but also with private sector, because they can't do it by themselves. They do need help from the private sector.
And as you think of like awareness, because one of the things that I'm thinking about today is like, so you have these known approaches. How do you give them awareness of what's going to happen and do that in a mobile first environment?
So at KnowBe4, we obviously have like a platform. So our customers or the users within our customers, they subscribe to our service, and then part of that is a sort of a mobile first content, like category, if you so want. Like, I don't know, like I'm sure James or one of the other KnowBe4 guys that you've come across have told you that we consider ourselves a Netflix of security awareness. So we really have all sorts of different content, delivery methods, whether it's gamified or more serious e-learning or story-based, really short sort of snippets. So we've got everything and the dog in in our platform, and amongst others also content that is very light, so it's not video based, like in terms of the bandwidth consumption. It's really light content, and that can be consumed on mobile devices as well. We are also bringing out a mobile app, which I'm really happy about. Actually, a few years ago when I just joined KnowBe4, I was begging them to come up with like a WhatsApp-based solution, which we've already piloted in our region, because everybody here uses WhatsApp, where you can send content directly onto the chat application itself. But now that we're coming out with a mobile app, which by the way is being developed by our team here in South Africa, we'll have the content right there, where we need it.
Question. This is great information to hear, Anna. One of the things I'd like to know a little bit more about is the targeted audience. You indicated that around that age of 19 is when folks are really getting their first mobile device. It may not be a smartphone, but it's a mobile device nonetheless. How is KnowBe4 going to target the content so that it is interesting and it can be absorbed in like maybe 10, 15-minute chunks? Because we know 19-year-olds, they're busy, and they need something quick, fast, in a hurry.
That's it. And you know what? 10 minutes is way too long. Like for those guys, it's 2.5 is sort of the max. And we do have those micro modules that are really even 2 minutes. I tell you what, is too long. Like you have to try and get the message across within 1 minute, and then maybe gamify it, so make it more interactive, so that the video content is really, really short, and then you have a little bit of interactive, be that move this thing around, follow the, like there's different ways of bringing in gamification. What's also really fun is when you do things like simulations and choose your own adventure type thing. I don't know if you there was that series on Netflix where you could choose which way it should go. And we building that into the platform or the content as well, to have these like different endings depending on what you choose, which is more exciting. And then we have a like a series based, it's called The Inside Man, which actually won a few prizes on the Cannes Film Festival, and there are rumors that will be published on Netflix itself, because it's really like a full-on story-based production that you can watch and you're being entertained, and you obviously learn. So a little bit like Mr. Robots, that sort of concept. So we're trying to appeal to the younger generation in the content creation as well. But you're right, it has to be really short. To keep the attention span.
Anna, does KnowBe4 have any plans to begin to start to reach out to those that are younger? That I'll say maybe 8 to 19, because they are our leaders in the making, right? So we're targeting the 19, but there's an opportunity to get them when they're younger, so that they understand the implications of having, the connection to the internet, how to use it wisely, how to protect themselves and their data.
Yes, and by the way, talking of younger, my little one was screaming in the background. I hope you can't hear it. Okay, good. It's bedtime here, so but yeah, so I've got a few things and you have to cut me short, because I'm actually really excited about that. So the one is that we've already currently got some content for children, primary school, as well as teenagers, and teachers as well, and parents. One of the ways, like we always sort of, tell our customers, the only way you can engage your users is if you give them something that's personally relevant and interesting. Like a mom, for example, I do want to know, how can I protect my kids when they on Roblox the whole day? Like, what do I need to know, and how can I give this across? So that's the kind of content you already have available on the platform. And what was super amazing, and why I'm really happy about that, is that we've recently, one of my colleagues, Lydia, she joined a UN working group where we committed and we got the approval from our SVP of content that any of the UN member states, if they want our content for the schools, they can get it. We won't charge for it. It's like a social kind of things, because if you think exactly like you said, Beverly, that's the generation of tomorrow. Being cyber aware is not a tech skill, it's a life skill. We do everything online. Our kids do their schooling online. It's like you teach them how, street safety, that's what then they're in the metaverse. It's like being in the world out there. They need to know how to stay safe. And part of that are some of the more complex kind of things that maybe go a bit above the sort of situational awareness you have when crossing a road. But it's a life skill just as much as physical safety is, or personal safety.
Yeah, I know here in the States that I'm even working with like local school districts to build that awareness, because they really need to start doing it really young. Like you said, that roadblock safety, that Facebook safety, as they start to get on that and really understand the implications of social media on their lives.
Yeah.
I love
And
that.
actually, sorry.
No, I agree. I just love that how Anna said life skills. It's not tech skills, life skills now. And you're right. You're absolutely right. It's all everything is connected. We're just immediately, my 5-year-old, almost 5-year-old wakes up and says, "Where's my iPad?" Which is kind of sad.
No, I know. I'm in the same boat. Don't worry. But what's really interesting is that I published an article just a few weeks ago, which I'll share with you maybe for the show notes, because I looked into as parents, like what is the one skill that we have to teach our kids? And I've been very conservative. I didn't allow my kids access to devices, and more of a, no. And when I looked into it and did the research, what's actually really interesting is that restricting the time that they spend online doesn't really matter that much. What's more important is that we generally make them aware of the threats or the risks that are out there. And there's the 5 C's: conduct, content, contact, like who are they allowing to be contacted from, and 2 more, which I can share in the article. And all of this eventually leads to critical thinking, and this is really the number one skill, if you think about it, that we have to teach our kids anyway, because you can't trust what you read anymore, with misinformation, disinformation. There's the social engineering aspect. There's like fake news and deep fake technology and whatever. The world is no longer trustable, so you have to build your spider senses and your critical thinking to a level that we can let them roam alone on Roblox or wherever, the metaverse one day, and be certain as parents that yes, they might fall over like they have to do in the real world as well, and they may come across something that's inappropriate or disturbing, but they have the right skills and the confidence to not let them cause harm by that. So risk will always be there, but risk does not just immediately cause harm, right? And that's the sort of thinking, is to rather have a more okay, you go and you fall on your face but like understand the principles of the risks that are out there and how you should behave. And whenever, for example, an emotion is triggered, which is what social engineers are trying to do, right? Like get our amygdala to active, like to fire off, and then we don't think critically anymore. That's a warning sign. So as soon as I feel scared or excited, I should actually take a breather and come down a bit more, be back in the moment, be more mindful, and then look at whatever is being presented more carefully. And that's, I think, part of the the skill set that we have to teach well, not just the younger ones, everybody, because we,
So powerful.
mm,
You're absolutely correct. Go
I
ahead.
agree.
I'm
I'm
sorry, Beverly.
Yeah, I said I agree. I am a parent as well, and so for me, I look at it as giving our kids the tools for success. We are in an interconnected world, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So, equipping them with the tools to make informed decisions and better choices, and understanding the consequences that oftentimes with social media can have lasting effects for years. Teaching
mm,
the word delete, hitting that button doesn't necessarily mean delete forever. It just means being placed in a file that may be used against you at a later time. So, but if we don't have these conversations, and if we protect our kids to the point we are setting them up potentially for failure, to be
yeah.
able to participate safely in this interconnected world.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what is also quite interesting? What I did a workshop with someone before who specializes in personal safety, and she said when you do speak to your kids about predators out there at the on the in the offline world, don't make it about the predator. Make it more in like a gamified role-playing kind of scenario that teaches them in a playful manner what is the right behavior. So, for example, you could have like the two dinosaurs, and the one dinosaur wants to touch the other dinosaur's hair, and that's not right. So, what should the other dinosaur say? And then it's like you teach them like that the right behavior, where you say, well, if you touch my hair, I will tell somebody. And I said no to you. I don't want you to touch my hair. And now I'm calling the teacher or my parents. So in playing it that way, which we could then apply also to the online world in some scenario, you teaching them playfully what to do in the moment when it becomes inappropriate. Like for example, if they get a request on social media from a stranger or someone asking for photographs or something, that should let go a warning sign, and that you say, hey, I'm not, and be confident enough to say no, and I'm going to tell someone, to sort of practice that behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I remember from my childhood, I grew up in the Caribbean, but there
Oh, nice.
we were,
Poor
yeah,
you.
and it sounds great. I mean, but we had that freedom, right? But my parents taught me about the safety aspect first, like be home by this time, like don't know who you're talking to, those sorts of things. And if you take a safety first approach, no matter what the subject is, then it's easier for them to approach because they have that innate sense of trying to keep themselves safe.
I agree.
That's it, exactly. Yeah.
I totally agree. This is such a good conversation. So, Anna, in terms of so Beverly's gone.
Just
Get on.
I hope to give an opportunity to be a part of future sessions. It was a pleasure to meet you, Anna and Renee. Yeah, and
It's lovely to meet you.
yeah, good
We would
luck.
love for you to come back. You have to come back.
Yeah, please invite me back. I will make the time for this edition.
Awesome. While they're transitioning, I have a couple. I usually shout people out. So, folks, if you are here, please let us know where you're chiming in from or watching us from. Scott Jaster had chimed in earlier, said good afternoon. Chris Van Gorder is around. Long time no see. Yes, I'm back. I was out of commission for a little while. And then Robert, he says, first time joining this wonderful conversation. So good to hear from you. And I'm glad you're here, Robert. Anybody else want to chime in and say where they're joining from or where they're watching, or if you have any questions or comments? This is such a really good conversation, so relevant to so many of us for a number of reasons. And, hearing about the population in Anna's world is really interesting. So Anna, do you also, I know you're based in South Africa, and you're doing work. Do you do work for folks around the world, or where's the what difference? Well, I guess that's question number one. So let me leave that. Let me start.
So, I mean, at the moment, it's actually quite funny because I was born in Germany, so I do speak German. And I'm filling in. Our German team doesn't have an evangelist, so I'm doing quite a few conferences in Germany at the moment. In fact, like virtually most of it, but about 2 weeks ago, I was actually there in person, which was really awesome to be back there. But yeah, our main focus is the African continent, but then the content that we create locally is applicable also for the rest of the world. So whatever we create here, I mean, that is, I think, the story is, I don't know if you're aware, but like the way I got into Know Before was I had my own business called Popcorn Training, where we created security awareness content in South Africa, but for the rest of the world. But in reality, the majority of our customers were in South Africa. And then Know Before they got wind of it, or they saw what we did, they liked it, and then we were acquired by them in 2018. And that's how I then obviously transitioned into the Know Before family, and we still have our little popcorn team, but we've grown as like Know Before Africa, which is our new brand. So in a way, like even though my focus is on Africa, I do work a lot with the other teams in Europe as well as in the States. I mean, my current boss is in the States, and Kathy, she's the head of PR. It's amazing. And when we write articles or things, they also published sometimes mostly obviously in local publications, but sometimes it's also a global one if you're lucky.
How did you come up with the concept of popcorn training?
So yeah, I mean, my background is cybersecurity, so I've been in it for a while. And like as a kid, I always loved drawing cartoons, and I was always doodling and making versions of my teachers in school. And then actually, while I was on honeymoon, we went to Zanzibar on the beach. I drew a whole cartoon story of these characters called Robin Your Data and Fraudy Skimbag that worked for money laundering, and they had all these little adventures of how they scammed people. And the idea was more of a fun kind of thing to teach non-technical people how to be safe in a more fun manner, because back then nobody did security awareness. It was like maybe a poster somewhere in the bathroom, and that was it. And and then I was lucky enough to be on site at a big local insurance company, and they really liked the concept, and that's how the idea became a product, and then the product became a company, and that's how it sort of developed. I think I was quite lucky to be in the right time, at the right place. It was just and I had really amazing customers who supported me and gave me input, and yeah, it was quite a ride. And then that's 10 years ago, and now we're here. Back then, nobody spoke about security culture. It was still quite niche.
Super interesting. And Chris jumped in right before I was going to ask my question. Now I forgot it. So I'm going to go into some of the folks that have made some comments here. Scott said he's sunny in Saugerties, New York. Awesome. Xavier says, good afternoon. Checking in again from Huntsville, Alabama. Awesome. Tawny is here from Utah. And Freddie says, interesting conversation. So thank you so much for your comments. I wanted to know the differences, but I think you kind of answered the question in the conversation, saying like, you make content for Africa, but it could be used all over the world. And any of the content kind of is relatable. So I was just kind of curious if you had if in different parts of the world there was different types of content that was made, or the way it was administered or anything like that. So that's really
I think that there are, obviously the more locally relevant you can make the content, the better it is. So people really love listening to their own accents, and if we try and bring in a sense of humor, sometimes it doesn't translate so well in a different country. But like South Africa, I think our accent is, I mean, not mine. I have like a weird accent combined, but the neutral South African accent usually people they don't mind. It doesn't irritate them, and it's quite easy to understand. So even I got some positive feedback from our American customers who said no, they like it, they understand it nicely. They even like our sense of humor. Our sense of humor is very cheesy and sort of slapstick, and we laugh about ourselves. And we did a production with local stand-up comedians. They obviously nowhere as funny as Trevor Noah, but they are really funny. And a lot of our American customers liked it, which I was really surprised. I thought, oh my gosh, will this translate? But they liked it. And yeah, in Europe, it's more difficult because you have there's so many subtleties. You can't have like a German hero in a French series, or, I think one thing everybody is united on is that the bad guys are from Eastern Europe, particularly now. So that's, but even that, actually, you have to be careful. I mean, over the years, I got into so much trouble because back, now everything is more, you have to be super careful. But back then we had, all the cyber criminals had Russian accents. And now we don't do that anymore. But yeah, back then we had fun with it.
That's funny. That is too funny. More people are chiming in. Robert is here from New York City. Semar is here from Columbia, Maryland. We have people all over the place, which is awesome.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, that question about the cultural differences when you talk about safety even could be very different. So that's really interesting to know. If that's unfair, blame Eastern Europe.
Sorry.
Oh, that's funny.
So
I
Anna,
thought it was.
go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was
No,
gonna
it's just
think about how things are moving, like in the future, where we're maybe becoming less dependent on large devices, even in like Western nations. Like, how do we ensure that the next generation who's gonna grow up on a tablet or a phone also has that sort of mobile training for them at a younger age?
Yes, and that they not only use the mobile device for entertainment, but actually, and I'm not, it's not only security awareness, but it's actually education in general. There's such an opportunity to, get people to learn anything or further educate themselves. And I mean, India and particularly India and but also Africa, there's quite a few startups that work in that whole mobile learning and mobile, call it education space. So there are a lot of cool apps that are available already, and there's good work being done with the educational institutions to bring content out there that can be consumed on the smaller devices, for really, helping yourself to further yourself and educate yourself. And what I feel quite strongly about is that the companies like the financial institutions and the telecommunication companies have a responsibility to not just sell the service, but also provide the guidance on how to do it safely. So most of them are now starting to do that, where they say, okay, if I sell a phone, how do I tell the person how to use it safely, and how can we do more customer awareness, which they're all sort of doing. And it is quite a challenge because, with internal users, yeah, you can say, if you don't do that, you get this, or I can fish you and figure out, well, who's falling, etc., for my fishes. But you can't do that with your customers. So how do you engage and motivate your customers to pay attention to your security content? And that's quite tricky. And I've been part of some of those conversations with the telco sector in particular, because we're part of the GSMA forum, and they're thinking about this, which is really great. They're really seriously considering, how can we make this more creative? And the other thing, like if you think about it, we have so much secondhand phone sales on the continent, where people get smartphones that you can't even patch or upgrade anymore, and now they're using that for banking. So it's really like interesting challenges that you have to grapple with and be innovative, But that's also what I love about Africa, is that yes, we have lots of challenges, but we also have lots of smart people that are building African solutions for African problems, which is exactly what we need, right?
I know here, from a security awareness standpoint, a lot of it is like, don't click on the link. When you're doing a mobile first, like, you have to click on the link. You have to view the content. So how do you separate like phishing from something that's educational and train them to do that?
Yeah, and actually, I want to tell you a story that goes along with this quite nicely. So, I've been in security for 20 years. Like, I've got the gray hair to show. I should know better, But 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in an Uber car, because my own car was in for a service, and the Uber driver was super nice, and he told me about his grandpa from Germany, and we're having a chat. And at the same time, I was looking outside because the area was a bit dodgy, and it was like sunset, and getting my laptop bag, my handbag, and while all of this going on, I was also checking my emails, which, as you do, which you shouldn't, but and at that moment in the Uber car, I got an Uber phishing email, like luckily it was like a fake internal simulation, but the timing couldn't be better. So I'm there totally multitasking, distracted, doing 1 million things. I am a security professional. I preach this for a living, and I click on the phishing link. And as I do it, I realized, oh my God, And then as punishment, our IT department made me do the training that I developed. Like, I had to do my own training. That I did the spot the fish training for, like, oh my God. So then they also sent out a survey to say, where were you when you did that? What were you doing? And I thought this was really interesting, if everybody has to fill out the survey, I want to see what do people do. And like, I kid you not, 53% of our internal people that fall for phishing simulations, they did what I did. They were multitasking and distracted. And that's really, which is, so this is taking a really funny turn now, but I'm also a yoga instructor on the side. And I really believe one of the biggest things that people don't do when they make mistakes like that is they're not present. They like, we're having this cognitive overload. There's a million things going on. I knew if I was looking at it properly, even if it was on mobile, but Uber wouldn't ask me to update my details by email like that. They don't do that. I don't even have to check the link. I'll just know it. But in that moment, I was like, so not paying attention that I just clicked on it. So my theory is, and this is something I'm trying now before to embrace, I'm actually working on some mindfulness content, is we have to bring people or teach people the skills to take 2 minutes of, mindfulness breathing exercises to calm our like beta brain state craziness down, so that we are more focused, more productive, and we don't fall for these, these fishes that are, yes, a very sophisticated one. Obviously, you need to be super careful, but like the 90% of them are those opportunistic, stupid ones that we shouldn't fall for, right?
But that's the ones that they all get us on, because
I know,
they clearly have psychiatrists and psychologists sitting there like, this is when you fish, this is what you do.
Yeah.
It's so sophisticated, because they know that humans, as much as we're going to try to do all these various things, that we will fall into a trap. That's happened to me before, and I'm not in your space, that you create the content. But your exact same situation I was multitasking, doing a number of things, answered a call that I typically would not have answered because the number kept coming up. And I was just like, well, who is this? And then they said they want to verify employment, which kind of didn't make sense. But I was just like, are they trying to verify business? Like, there was a question that, and the person knew the info, and I said yes. And then as soon as I said yes, I realized like, this is like this is this is a scam. And then I call the number back, of course, Google the number. It's scam number, the whole nine. But it was in one of those situations where I sit here, we interview people like you every single week, and we know this is what we're supposed to do, and then they catch you off guard because that's life.
Yeah.
Stuff, exactly.
I felt too, because the other day at work, I get a fake Gmail one asking for my input on a document, and you're right, Anna. You just need to take that 1 second to breathe. And one of the things that I like to do is like just take a second, breathe, and then rub two fingers together to where you can feel the ridges on your finger. And just focusing on your finger like brings you back into the present before you go and you do your other activity. And
I love that. That's so awesome. Yes.
In the past, when I used to do security awareness training, it would be like, take a breath before you click on a link, any link. Like,
yes,
before you click on any link, take a breath. Like that way you can get back in the present and check it out.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's exactly it.
I like that one, Chris. Couple comments. Scott says Anna has a very interesting website with some cool articles. So Anna, let us know your website so we could put it up.
Thank you so much, Scott. It's actually just a little blog site. Like it's not really good looking. It's annacollard.com. But I try, and we started in November. We did this like little internal writing competition. Write as a thing is called International Novel Writing Month or something. So I try to write more frequently now, but I've got some articles on there. Thank you, Scott. That's really kind of you.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Chris is here from Ashburn, and James McQuiggan is here from Missouri.
Hey, James.
Hi. All of our friends are in the room, in the building. So I definitely want to we are on I know, Anna, it's late where you are. Chris is in the middle of training. So if we don't have any other questions, we could just wrap and make this a shorter one for today, because I totally appreciate your time.
Yeah, and I just want to thank you so much for telling us like the idea behind popcorn videos, and then how we can use that sort of short content to be able to get to the youth and just teach them just safety and awareness, and everything else will come after that.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys so much. It was really lovely meeting you both. I love your energy, Renee and Chris, and thanks for that tip with the finger. I'm going to use that in my cybersecurity mindfulness training. I'll give you credit.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much again. Thank you all for our audiences here, and we will see you again next Thursday for another CISO Thursdays. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.